live as usual. Sorry for a little bit of delay, but we are here talking some NBA playoffs with my guys, Zoo and Peebush. How you guys doing?
Doing all right, man. Zoo and I just got back from Vegas, so we're pushing through and kicking right into the finals, man. So it should be a good series based on not based on game one. I shouldn't say that, but I think with Giannis getting his feet under him, we're gonna be in for a good series. So I'm pumped for that.
Yeah. Man, not gonna lie, Sean, man, I'm barely hanging in there, man. My voice is dead. My left shoulder is freaking sore. My head is a little lightheaded, but I'm ready to go, baby. The CP3 showed up, so I got to show up, even though my voice might disappear during this podcast, man. It might disappear.
Nah, me and people are going to carry a little bit of the weight, man. We see you struggling right now. You have to be a guy that comes off the bench for us. Give us a couple good buckets. Man. Yeah, 6 man of the year right here, Zoo. But wanted to go back a little bit because last time we talked to you guys, we talked about we were kind of in the conference finals, and I wanted to get the guys' opinions on those games. Obviously, the Clippers took the Suns to Game 6, but Chris Paul deaded that and got the Suns and advanced them. And then unfortunate for Trey, he was injured, and the Bucks extinguished the Hawks in Game 6 as well. So I wanted to get the guys' thoughts on, I guess, both of those games and what they thought about the Hawks and the other teams in the playoffs, how they played. And Peebush, I'm going to start with you.
I'm going to start with the Hawks because, I don't think many people thought that the Hawks were going to enter the NBA Finals. But, hey, they put up a damn good fight. They went 6 games. They lost their easily best player in Trae Young, which is unfortunate with his first push. But being in his third year, man, I mean, come on. That's a pretty damn good third year, getting to the conference finals. Giving a very experienced team a tough series. I know that they were missing Giannis for a couple games, and the Bucks stepped up. Drew Holiday had a nice game. Brook Lopez had a great game with 33 and 7. But look, man, I think the Hawks are going to be there. Years going forward. I'm not saying they're going to be doing this year in and year out, making the conference finals. Going for the finals, because I think there are some other up and coming teams in the Eastern Conference, but they've definitely solidified, I'd argue, a top 4 spot in the East, at least power rankings wise for next year. They're only going to get more experience. This was a great thing that they had to go through. We learned a lot from Kevin Huerter, dude. I mean, we got the Red Velvet. He had some nice show outs. They got a young team. I love Bogdanovich's game. So that Hawks series was kind of went as expected. I think a lot of people had the Bucks in 6. But I would have liked to have seen a healthy matchup because who knows, could have gone 7. So I did enjoy that series. But Zoo, what would you think about Trae Young there?
Oh man, what a shame he got injured, man. Yeah. Because the minute he got injured, I knew the series was over. It was over. And no matter even the game they won without him, like without Trae Young, no shot at all. Even though Giannis got injured, Chris Middleton and Drew Holiday was enough to beat that Atlanta Hawks team. I don't know. I still don't even know how they made the playoffs. The Atlanta Hawks was a team that was on the rise, like an 8th, 7th seed, but they somehow jumped in the top 4. Incredible. Nate McMillan, man, he got himself a full-time job. Deserves it absolutely. This guy legitimately changed this franchise this season, man. It was incredible what this guy's done compared to Lloyd Pierce, who might never ever get a job again because that dude was
he's coaching for the USA team. You know that? I just saw that the other day.
He's an assistant, right?
He's assistant.
That's crazy.
Man. He's
lucky. That could be his last payday in basketball.
Dude, legitimately, what he did to that Hawks team, man, like he was awful, man. They were out of the play-in tournament before Nate McMillan came in to save the day. But the Bucks in 6, though, shout outs to the Bucks in 6, that got me $20 and $20, baby. Andrew Jackson, let's go, man. Yeah. Oh, they came in clutch, baby. They came in clutch for me, but man. But shout out to the Hawks. They were impressive for a young team, but the Bucks, they've been waiting for this. They gave Drew Holiday so much freaking money. Giannis got his supermax. Like they're in win now mode, so they got to get it done this year. So if they don't get it done this year, man, it's gonna be tough to come back again because all this injury luck, man, that they got this year, ain't gonna be happening again. So this is their one only shot to win a title, or this is their best shot to win a title. And if it closes, man, you saw what happened to Houston Rockets, man. When they had their shot, you missed that one shot, man. The door might close forever on you, and your superstar might be gone. So you gotta maximize when you get the opportunity.
Couldn't agree more, man. But the on the other side, man, I mean, I think we got to – I know we've continually given the Clippers shout-outs for just pushing through their I think that was the biggest injury. I know Anthony Davis, a lot of people could consider that one too, but man, when the Clippers lost Kawhi, I know you and I, they were our favorite there at the beginning of the playoffs. There, it was kind of them and the Suns, and with Kawhi going out, I know there was rumors that he might have returned, and obviously we know he didn't. But man, Paul George, props to him. We gave him a lot of crap last year in the bubble. He proved himself as probably a number one guy if he wanted to be. I think he fits a number two better. But what he was doing, especially in that game 5, I believe it was, to force game 6, just had a huge showing out. They were hitting everything. And also shout out Reggie Jackson, man, because he earned himself some nice money whenever he's paid up next. He was left and right. They had great. I don't even know what the Clippers offense was pretty much the entire playoffs when they weren't playing with Kawhi. They were just like passing the ball around. They jack up threes, and all of them happened to be going in. So, hey, it was fun to watch. I did enjoy watching them play. But that 3-headed monster in Phoenix, man, is tough to play against, especially when the Clippers really don't have. Boogie actually came in and played well, but they didn't really have anybody that can completely match up with Ayton, and they just couldn't contain Chris Paul there at the end. He was just going point guard mode, as everybody likes to say for him. So. It was a tough series. Clippers, hopefully they can come back healthy next year and make another push because, damn, they have some really good role players that are really not role players. So it was a fun series, or it was a fun playoffs to watch them play. So I'm glad they continued to make it on even with the Kawhi setback.
Yeah, that Kawhi Leonard injury, man, they just got bad luck, man. This LA Clippers team, man, I feel like it is cursed because this is their year to Kawhi Leonard. They're role players. Like you saw, without a superstar, they beat the Utah Jazz. Like they whooped them. And Donovan Mitchell was balling. Like Rudy Gobert was balling. Like all their guys were playing. Even though Mike Conley, the trash can he was in the freaking playoffs. That guy was atrocious off injury, man. That guy was atrocious. He freaking ruined his chance of getting a bag, man. He ruined his chance of getting a bag because he's a free agent this year. And dude, if the Utah Jazz gives that man like a 3 for 30, man, they are gonna regret it and they will not win the title. And Donovan Mitchell will be looking elsewhere because Mike Conley is not the dude you give a guy money to. Like CP3, point guard. Mike Conley, point fraud, man. Because, man, like, come on. Nah, I'm telling you, man, Mike Conley is not the dude, man. He's not the dude to get it done in the playoffs.
Not for the best team in the league. If you're holding the best team in your best record in the league, you need honestly anybody. It doesn't even have to be a point guard. It could be another combo guard like a Donovan Mitchell. We kind of are seeing that a bit.
He's the secondary guy to be his helper when he's not shot creating, because
just so he doesn't have to score 50 a game for them to win. I mean, that was kind of the outcome we've seen the past couple, the bubble season and this season, is that when Mitchell scored 50, that was really the only guaranteed way they were winning.
Yeah, he had
either that or they were playing the 8th seed Grizzlies, who were still giving them a hard time. So I don't know, man. Them and the Bucks are kind of stuck a little bit. I think those are the teams that are a bit stuck right now. But the Bucks are able to move on, so we can't throw any shade at them quite yet.
Yeah.
And Rudy Gobert is atrocious. He's atrocious. For a defensive player of the year, he was the biggest liability on defense. T. Lue took out Zubac, put Nicholas Batum at center, and Rudy Gobert was neutralized, man. The guy was just chasing three-point shooters, and he can't guard three-point shooters because he's a big man. His feet are not that quick. And we see DeAndre Ayton showing that he is more valuable as a player, even on the defensive side. He's more versatile compared to Rudy Gobert in the playoffs.
I agree.
Because you can't pick on him. You can't pick on him. He's got quit. He's smarter than I thought. Like, he's got a lot smarter this year, obviously playing with CP3, who's one of the smartest basketball players in the world. He obviously evolved DeAndre Ayton from being a young buck, and he's playing like a veteran. Like, every night I see him on ESPN, man, they bring up stats like first time center since Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, like stats that we've just not seen since like historical big man. And what this guy has done at the defensive end, on defensive rebounding, being a big guy that can guard pick and roll, man, calling out. He's very vocal on defense.
Yep.
DeAndre Ayton is getting a bag, and he's showing why he's the number one pick in a draft with Luka Doncic and Trae Young. What a draft. What a historical draft. This guy is in line of getting a max contract and a championship ring. So
yeah,
what a turnaround for the Phoenix Suns.
Oh, what a year for Ayton.
DA, man, DeAndre Ayton, man, is showing like every time I see this dude just runs like a gazelle. Him and CP3 in a pick and roll is so beautiful because he can pass too. He can pass to the open shooters, man. He's not just a big that can't really do anything else. He got decent mid range, can rebound, can pass. Like he's got good skills for a 7-footer, man. For good fundamental skills. He's just not a big out there. He's got skills, unlike Rudy Gobert, who sucks on offense, man.
Very true. I mean, if you're going to be a number one pick, man, you got to have offense as a big man, offensive game, and solid defense. Especially in this NBA, you ain't drafting a center number one overall that cannot at least contest a jump shot. I mean, because Zoo, you saw the Clippers, they switched a small ball. All Batum had to do was tip the ball to one of his teammates every time. As long as he could get a hand on it, he didn't have to grab it with two hands and grip and rip like they teach you in middle school, elementary school, YMCA basketball. He just had to tip it back to one of his teammates and they were out and running. So that's something the Jazz are going to have to adjust, one, and teams are now going to know how to play the Jazz based on what the Clippers did to them. So that was a great point too.
You know what I also think is kind of like, just because of what basketball is now, like I think what is more acceptable is more so the fine role of the I would say the perimeter lockdown. Okay, like Gobert, for instance, like we know he can't do anything on offense, but he's like defensive player of the year all the time. Okay, that's good. But I feel like you can tolerate that more with like a wing guy because of all the important wings that are really good at scoring. Like, I think the only way, and I don't know, I mean, I'm not sure what draft Gobert was in, but I think now as a GM, it would be really irresponsible for you to draft I don't care how dominant the guy is on defense. If he's 7 foot tall, 6'11", I think it'll be really irresponsible if you draft any guy that's over 6'11" or 7 foot and he has no resemblance of an offensive game. Like totally DeAndre Ayton, he, is an anchor in the middle and can be defensive, but he can make a jump shot. He can roll to the rim. If they probably gave him more of a chance, he maybe can make one or two threes every other game or something like that. But you can see he has the ability to do that. I think with Gobert, it's going to be real interesting if Utah, I think, within this next year, figures out somebody that can trade with him. Because I don't even feel like you can go in the next year with him unless they bring in another guy that can help with Mitchell. But I don't even see it. Like I think Rudy Gobert has use in the league, but I don't think he's a guy you can be playing in the playoffs and having him for big minutes because it's just not going to happen. He's no offensive threat. So I don't know what Utah's going to do.
That's a good point, Sean, because another example of that was kind of like Roy Hibbert on the Pacers back then, right? Like I mean, look, Roy Hibbert actually had some post moves, and I'll give him that. Like he could actually move, and he was a great defender. Didn't win three defensive players of the year, but back then the NBA was a bit more defensive, right? So it was harder to win defensive player of the years every year, whereas now there's only maybe 2 to 3 guys, and the majority of them are wings, like you said, Sean, that are up. A Giannis, right? A Ben Simmons as a guard, right, was up there this year. And then it's just kind of Gobert, because the 2 best big men in the league are offensive minded and really can't play that well of defense in Jokic and Embiid.
Defense is overrated, dude. It is overrated. Like, it kind of is, man. But like I know they preach. I hate when the draft guys are always like, "Hey, he's lazy on the defensive end." Who cares? He's putting up 30.
Yeah, but you could say the same thing. But like, okay, but why are the Wizards bad every year? They can't play defense, right? Yeah. So it's not.
It's more about team defense instead of individual. If you can play help, majority is just help defense. Like help defense. I pick and roll rotation from one guy to another, making forcing hard passes. Like it's all help defense. Individual, you got to be average.
And that's the difference between Ayton and Gobert. Gobert's not. He's a good he's a good rim help defender, but he's not a good perimeter help defender. Ayton is above average at both. Gobert is just weighted way too much.
Lead at one.
So he's either got to go through some hella tough training this year and work on his lateral movement, because you can work on that and you could stretch, but at the same time you can't teach foot speed, man. You can't teach that, and you can't teach help defense IQ on the perimeter. That's something you just develop. or get mentored by like a CP3, for example, right? So I don't want to compare Gobert and Hibbert because I do think Gobert is a better player overall. But Hibbert, man, there's a reason he didn't go anywhere really after the Pacers was because they played old school basketball in Indiana.
And the league changed.
The league changed, right? So now the league is changing. They now figured out how to beat Gobert. He really hadn't been figured out, as an individual until really the bubble. I would argue that. Like that they didn't know play five small guys. Just play five small guys.
Because he can't post up anybody.
Yeah.
He can't post up. He is legit. He can't get exposed. Like he can't will himself on offense. So like you can have him like a Nick Batum out there or like a Jay Crowder guarding Rudy Gobert, and you won't get hit offensively. So man, Rudy Gobert has a massive hole in this game. Man, goddamn, like I'm not a Rudy Gobert. Yeah, and they're stuck. And they paid him a lot. They paid him a lot of money to be the second best player. Yeah, the max. You got Donovan Mitchell, obviously, with the max, so they're out of money. They were paying Mike Conley a lot of money. They're out of money, so
you can't. How can you even trade him? I don't even know if you can trade him.
You can't. Like what? Yeah, what can you trade him for? Like the roster is done. It's peaked. Like what I say, Atlanta Hawks of the West, man, and they did not disappoint me at all, man. And Kawhi Leonard's injury. You cannot lose to a team with their best player out, man. No. That was embarrassing. I had them winning when Kawhi got injured. I can't believe the Clippers pulled it off, but that is embarrassing.
And they would have got swept by the Suns too, which is even funnier because the Clippers at least 4-6 without one of their big men there too.
It's incredible. Yeah, shout out to the Clippers, man. That team is really talented. Really talented.
That speaks to the Clippers and their depth that they have. And another big shout out to Ty Lue, man. I think he has gotten a lot of crap in terms of his adjustments, but it's been, hook or crook, however you want to call it. He's been able to, and I've spoken to, I feel like he trusts his bench more. He just plays guys who are hot. He didn't just stick to a rotation. So credit to him. And I think the Clippers did a good job, even though last year I wouldn't have blamed Doc for that. And I'm not a big Doc guy, but I feel like that was more on the players. But I think this year you saw what Tyler was doing. You saw what Tyler was doing with the players.
But, man, look at Doc Rivers on the 76ers, man. They taking a pat out, and they were by far the favorites. Vegas favorites, consensus, and he still lost. Game 7, man. They were up 3-2, man. They had the better team. No significant injury. Ben Simmons played. Tobias Harris played. Ben Simmons played. All their all-stars played. So, they legitimately had no excuses in Washington. All Doc Rivers be like, Mr. Overrated, man. People like Doc Rivers. They don't want to criticize him, but
that's
I'm
what it
criticize him. My God, man, he's such a likable dude, man. Like he's such a nice guy, but man, he is not a good playoff coach, man. He's not a good playoff coach. Like T. Lue, what he showed on the Clippers, he had every excuse to lose to the Jazz. Yeah, he went from LeBron's assistant to, man, he's a hell of a coach in the playoffs, man. He makes adjustments. He attacks matchups, man, even adjustments from injuries of his own team that he couldn't have foreseen, and making PG more of a he was playing pretty much point guards. He was creating. Like, PG is creating a lot for his teammates, obviously, without Kawhi Leonard there. So, man, oh, man. Shout outs to T. Lue, man. Shout outs to T. Lue.
Yeah. We're going to, for another podcast, once the playoffs are over, it's a lot of trade scenarios and a lot of scenarios that I'm going to throw out to the guys. So I want you guys that are listening to make sure you guys look into some of these trades that I'm going to throw out here, because I think it's a lot of things. I think there's going to be a lot of upheaval in the offseason, I think, with coaching and players. So can't wait for that. But I do want to transition into the game that happened last night. And, speaking of the big three with Ayton, Paul, and Booker, they showed up and showed out for the Phoenix Suns. Kind of put a clamp on the first game. I think in the first half, you kind of was looking at maybe, at first I want to give a shout out to Giannis and how it looked like he tore his leg apart. And then he came out in the first game of the finals and actually played way better than I thought he was going to play. His leg looked fine. So I thought that was a really good sign for Milwaukee. So I'm not ready to bury them yet, but I'm going to ask the guys what were their thoughts on game 1 and where they see the series going from now. And Zoo, I'm going to start with you, man.
Point God, man. CP3. Oh, my Lord. This dude is a pick and roll wizard, man. Pick and roll wizard. The way he gets to his mid-range spots, it's so beautiful to watch. Every shot he took just looks so beautiful. Even his contested threes, man. The amount of switching the Milwaukee Bucks did, man. CP3 got to chose who got to guard him. Legit, he was picking on one of our friends' favorite players, Pat Connaughton, all day, man. Pat Connaughton, Mr. Brent Forbes, man. My Lord, Brooke Lopez got his ass benched. Bobby Portis, dude. So every time CP3, because PJ Tucker obviously an elite defender, so every time they just have a pick and roll to get him off him, and I don't know, the Bucks did an adjustment a little too late, but when you have Giannis at the center position, you can't pick on the pick and roll as much. And Giannis is a two-way player. You pick and roll, you have Giannis guard CP3. Okay, I'll live with that. But oh my, the amount of players that pretty much CP3 got benched just by picking on him. And him and DeAndre Ayton in a pick and roll.
So true.
Oh, it's so funny to watch because this dude's 36 years old, dropping a 32-point game in his first NBA Finals, 9 assists, only 2 turnovers, man. CP3 is playing like one of the greatest point guards of all time. I already told you, Pat. He's probably the most complete point guard of all time.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Skill set wise, his only liability is his height. Outside of his height, he is good at everything. In the game of basketball, he's good at everything. And what he's done on this Phoenix Suns team is his greatest achievement ever. And he's 36 years old. So I'm rooting for Chris Paul to get his ring against Giannis's Bucks right now. Giannis right now, he's obviously coming off a hyperextension. He came back quick.
It looked ugly.
It's supposed to be a 2 to 4 week injury, but he's coming back in a week. So mad process to Giannis to fight through the pain and playing. But man, oh man, this Suns team just looks better.
Dude, Zoo, you made up. You brought up arguably my biggest point was the switching on Chris Paul was the difference maker in that game. That along with the thing is the Suns get to the line way more. I know Book got there, I think 10 times. He made all 10.
And they make everything.
He made it. Yeah, he made 25. They made 25 of 26. But the Bucks shot 9 for 16. So not only did they not even get to the line, they couldn't even make a damn one. I mean,
you surprised, man? Giannis, man.
No, I'm not.
Man.
No, I'm not surprised. But you got to at least get to the line. At least get to the line as many times because right there, that's a 16-point difference in free throws. Right there, boom. That's a close game. I know the Bucks are never going to really shoot, 85% as a team. But if they could get to 70%, something like that. I mean, and they got to get their volume up. But the thing that scared me the most was the Bucks shot 45% from 3, and the Suns shot 32%, and they still got whooped. So I understand
not a good
look. But I understand that Giannis is still getting his legs underneath him. He was able to play, I think, 35 minutes, put up 20 and 17. I think he only took about 11. He only took about 11 shots, but like you said, Sean, can't really count him out yet because, he's getting a little bit more rest. He's going to come into game 2 slightly fresher. He's going through 24/7 treatment on that knee. So shout out to that medical team for turning him around in a week. But look, that Brooke Lopez performance was just atrocious. Drew Holiday had a rough game as well. He's just been way too inconsistent for them for making, as Zoo, you've mentioned, the money that he's making. He ain't living up to those expectations right now. But look,
offensively,
he's
so inconsistent. Him and Middleton, they either have really good games or really awful games.
Yeah.
And my, Drew Holiday has some awful games. And the crazy part is, he didn't guard Chris Paul the whole game.
That's what I was just gonna say. He didn't even guard him. They relied so heavily on Middleton for almost everything that game. I mean, he took 26 shots, right? He was defending left and right. Because Giannis, I mean, they had him at the 5 there for a bit, and I don't know what Drew Holiday will fight over screens for you. I think we've all determined that he's one of the best perimeter defenders in the league. And if you're going up against one of the best perimeter offensive players in the league at age 36, I would hope he can stay in front of him. Come on. I know Chris Paul's got some beautiful moves, man, but you're one of the
his handles are nice.
Kevin Durant shouted out Drew Holiday as one of the best perimeter defenders. If KD can say that, then he should be able to do something on a 6-foot. I don't care if he's a point guard or not. It's the finals, man. You got to step up. I know it's only game 1. They're not at home, so obviously they're not in the Deer District. Shout out the Deer District. It looks like a hell of a time out there. But look, man, I think this will still go 6 games. I do have the Suns in 6. I think the Bucks will make it competitive once they go back to Milwaukee. I think it could go back 2-2. I think it could come back 2-2 entering into game 5, but I see the Suns taking that edge in Game 5. And as everybody knows, man, you win that Game 5 is crucial, unless you're the 76ers, of course. But look, I got this. I got Phoenix pulling it out, and I got Chris Paul winning the Finals MVP. Man, he deserves it more than anybody. And we said that maybe even a year ago before the bubble. Which player deserves a championship the most? And it might come to fruition, man. I'm excited for him.
Yeah, I'm so happy for CP3, man, because he didn't hop on a bandwagon. No. He hopped on a project, a rebuilding project, and made it a contender, man. It's incredible, man.
That's what he does.
Dude,
that's what he does.
Dude, it's crazy, man. He goes to OKC with a bunch of they're pretty much tanking, turns the franchise around, man, gets him to the first round. Yeah, he turned the Clippers around. Like the LA Clippers were a joke, and then they became a perennial playoff contender every single year. So what Chris Paul has done from city to city to city, like even in New Orleans, man, or Hurricane Katrina, man, he went there, freaking made them get a franchise.
Made it a little bit irrelevant, a little bit more relevant.
Yeah, like what CP3 done city to city to city is incredible. Even Houston, like he went to that Rockets team, they went 7 games against the KD Warriors, I think is the greatest team of all time. So what he has done in his career, impactful players, yeah. He's in my top 20 players of all time already, man.
His win share has got to be skyrocketing.
Yeah, right top 10, man. It's top 10 of all time, man. Top 10 of all time. I'm not even surprised because his impact on winning and his skill set, man, he is historically great. Historically great. And he's going to get it done this year.
It's just it's I don't know how else to say it. It's just a beautiful time watching Chris Paul play basketball. He's so smooth out there. He knows exactly where he needs to be. He's always looking over his shoulder, looking for anybody coming over because he knows he's going to get blocked from behind if there's anybody coming from behind him. So yeah, man, there's no other player I'd like to see win, and I'm just glad we're getting an experience that is not Cavs Warriors like we had seen for way too long. Yeah. So two new teams. Yeah. Either way, we're getting a new champion. I'm excited for that.
Yeah, one franchise would be real happy. It's been a long time. Phoenix never won. Yeah, Phoenix has never won. And last time was Kareem. So it's been almost 50 years.
Yeah, I think with Milwaukee, and I think this is an NBA thing, and I kind of understand with Milwaukee because if you look at like their starting 5, I know Giannis is hurt, but a lot of the guys on that starting 5 are guys who can guard somewhat more so than like I guess you could say Phoenix. Like they may have one guy that's like a guy that could maybe like Mikal Bridges, I don't know, that could like lock somebody down. But I don't know why it's a thing to just always switch, especially when you got a guy like Chris Paul, who it doesn't even matter who he's switching onto. Unless he's switching onto Drew Holiday, he's going to take advantage. So, like, if Drew Holiday, even though I didn't see him guarding Chris at all, if he is guarding, like, fight over the pick. Because then it makes Chris make a decision of, like, okay, now I have to beat one of the best perimeter defenders. But I feel like when you're switch, it bails out, Chris, and then Chris is able – I think the perfect example of that was when Brook Lopez got that. I think it was. I don't even know why that was a flagrant, but like I guess because he stepped where he landed or whatever. But it's like Chris makes it to where he sets it up and gets that matchup, and it's like we all know Brook is not starting off with Chris. Whoever's starting off with Chris, whether it's PJ or Drew or whoever, stick with them. Fight over the screen to make it because to me it's like cutting the head off the snake or whatever the analogy is. Do that. Like, just because you cut the tail off, that doesn't mean the snake or whatever is going to die. Like, it might still be able to maneuver. And that's what Chris does. And that happens in the NBA a lot. The thing is now is to switch everything. And it's like, dude, everybody in the NBA, they can't.
But that's a little bit of individual defense there.
Yeah.
Which is
and I feel like a lot of guys
oriented.
I feel like a lot of guys, if we're just being honest, they don't want to guard. Nobody really you don't want to get embarrassed by Chris. You don't want to get embarrassed, especially Trey. Now, I kind of understand why you want to switch with Trey because Trey can dance on you a little bit. Chris can too, but Trey's just a little bit younger, so I get it. Yeah, so I get it. But I don't know. It's just it is frustrating watching that because it's just like nobody's like, okay, like when you see the switch, it's like, yeah, you go from Drew to Brook. Well, now it's about to be Chris at the line or Chris getting a 4-point play because Brook can't guard him. Like, I don't know. Yeah. It's just something
Mike Budenholzer, man. Mike Budenholzer, the guy making an adjustment because his game plans in game ones are pretty awful for some reason. Like he's always really bad in game ones.
You're playing against a team they're very unpredictable. I mean, they could feed Ayton inside. They could just run Booker around the court for 30 minutes if they wanted to. Right? They get CP3 to go ISO or with a pick and roll, which obviously the latter is way more successful for Chris Paul playing the pick and roll. And they have other great shooters, and Cam Johnson's had a couple nice games. We got Mikal Bridges.
Mikal Bridges been money.
I mean, look, man, they're kind of I don't want to say they're a younger version of the Clippers because they don't have similar players, but they just have a lot of people that are contributing. And I'll take that kind of team any day of the week when you're pairing up with CP3 especially. If CP3's got good role players, man, and then 2 other stars, I'm calling DeAndre Ayton a star. All right.
DeAndre
game over.
Close to All-Star now. Yeah, center. Yeah, center All-Star now. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean he's gonna get the reserves because Jokic is gonna be the perennial unless something happens there randomly. But man, this Suns team's fun to watch. They're fun to watch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally forgot about Cam Johnson. He's another guy who's like a really good shooter, but I was familiar with, but I didn't know he was like ascending to. I mean, they're going to have to start making some tough decisions. I don't know what years these guys, contract-wise, these guys are in, but I mean, I feel like Chris is going to have his little opt-out thing, and I don't know.
He's going to get a bag, man.
Yeah.
If they win a title, I don't care how bad the contract is year 4. I'm giving him a 4-year deal.
They're going to force to do it.
I'm gonna reward him for getting a ring.
Yeah.
4 years,
I think he might do it. I think he might. If he wins, I think he'll be more likely to do like a 2 to 3 year deal.
No.
You think he's playing until he's 40?
Yeah. Dude, 4 years, $100+ million, man. He's gonna get that, and he's gonna deserve every cent if he gets this franchise a title.
Yeah, that'll be more of a just.
Thank you very much for saving our franchise.
Pretty much,
saved our franchise, man.
And like you say, if you're the president or not president, but if you're the owner and the GM makes that deal, you kind of understand, like, hey, if this deal looks bad in 2 years, we want a championship, so you can't really get on to the GM.
The city will be off their back. The city will be off their back.
Yeah.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
So, it's going to be interesting to see how these the finals shape out. Like I said, I'm still giving Milwaukee a chance. Going to be interested to see how Giannis bounces back. I feel like maybe in game 1, he had that adrenaline rush because, you're getting back. He was training to get back for game 1. So I want to see how his knee responds for game 2. I feel like this is a classic setup game for Chris Middleton because it feel like he's always hot and cold. So maybe this is the game he gets, this game on the road. PJ Tucker makes a couple of threes, so we're going to sit here and see. And like you say, I am excited. Like, a lot of it was I was thinking to myself, like, I don't know, it's the Suns. It's, selfishly, I was wanting to see, until Trey got here, I wanted to see Atlanta and Phoenix just because of the storylines between the 2 dueling guards and things like that and the 2 up-and-coming younger teams. But like I say, these playoffs have been really interesting, and I think for both Milwaukee and Phoenix, those teams getting a championship, and it's been I think Phoenix has never gotten it, and Milwaukee has been ages since they've had one. So it's going to be cool to see whoever wins from that. But as usual, make sure you guys tune into our bullheaded_pod page on Instagram. I've been updating throughout the playoffs with nothing but strictly basketball. The finals will be over at some point, and it's going to be pretty challenging trying to figure out what content I want to create for that. And to Zoo's discretion, I think baseball is going to be involved with that. Still going to be covering a lot of NFL stuff with training camps and NBA free agency and the draft. So I will be incorporating a lot of that. But just make sure you guys tune into that. Make sure you guys subscribe to Apple, Spotify. When you're on Apple, make sure you give us a 5-star so we can get in the algorithms and people can see our show. Like I said, Spotify, Apple, and Anchor. And as usual, for me, Zoo, and P. Bush, we're out.